My name is David Shapiro. I have the pleasure and privilege of being the CEO of the YMCA of Greater Boston. So first, I just want to say welcome. Welcome to all of you. We sort of believe that you express your values by how you spend your time. And all of you spending time with us here this morning is incredibly meaningful in terms of what are the values and animating principles of what we're trying to drive towards in this city and the role everyone here plays. Let me center you a little bit on just the why part of the neighborhood, and then we'll center you on the event, which is you're at the YMCA in East Boston, but the YMCA in East Boston, the Eastie, is such a dynamic neighborhood, and our director, Joe Gaeta, is in the back of the room. Give him a round of applause. And Wendy Zinn, who's our Chief Social Responsibility Officer and was the brainchild of the East Boston Y, so we will give her. But this neighborhood is so dynamic and such a beautiful tapestry that the Y has 3 locations in East Boston in order to serve this neighborhood. You are in the home of after school, summer camp, workforce development, which is why we're here today. Obviously a little bit of hoop and junior Celtics. And then over on Bremen Street has the full service Y with early ed and the workout facilities and community rooms. And then we're fortunate enough to operate the Umana pool with BPS, where we're able to, do other things with the city like swim safe and make sure in this coastal community, everyone has affordable access to swim safe, being safe around water, and the critical skills of learning to swim and the job skills of being a lifeguard. I'm constantly telling every kid I meet, like, hey, if you want to make 20 bucks an hour, it's a good time to learn to swim and learn to be a lifeguard. But, in terms of this morning and why we're here, I was just at a early education interagency task force about a week ago, which is a whole of government effort on early ed. And Yvonne Ho, the Secretary of Economic Development, talked about early education as a market failure, right? It's something we need, but as much as we laud our private sector sometimes, it alone is not solving for early ed. It's taking nonprofit, it's taking government reform, it's taking market pressure, it's taking parental demand, it's taking us also considering it to be a whole of workforce equity, children, parents issue. Workforce development is no different, right? If the market would solve it, we would not need the nonprofit sector and government. But the bottom line is there are huge disconnects for those in need of talent and those with talent. And talent alone is not the only answer. We'd like to think that in America. It's probably the biggest falsehood of America, that talent alone sometimes dictates where you are. And all you've got to do is talk to one of our early ed apprentices, women who owned and ran daycares in the countries they came from, who are now, because of our system, having to start all over as early ed apprentices to build careers in the same field where they owned places in other countries. But that's the way our workforce development system often works, and it means that we have to create glide paths. We have to create pathways that are supported, pathways that are reinforced, and pathways that are forgiving. That include language skills. That includes skills that we know can make you much more employable and increase social and economic mobility, regardless of what folks have done before. And so today, this morning, with the DigLit 2.0 celebration here today and the Learning Lab, and what you're about to see is the kind of collaboration and partnership between employers, nonprofit sector, and brilliant government champions and public servants when the triangulation comes together. What we do that is a matter of justice, but also economic competitive advantage. We make a mistake of thinking sometimes that those things are mutually exclusive when in fact they are right in symmetry when done well. And certainly the city that Mayor Wu described last night in her State of the City. So this morning we celebrate that. You'll see the voices of that. You'll see the leaders of that. You'll see the real life folks that are making their way through that pathway. You'll see folks from the Y and other nonprofits. Before I turn it over, there's always somebody in the corner who makes the whole thing go, and I'm about to introduce the woman who has made this morning go and makes so much of the work go. But before I do that, I do want to say one other thing. Often in especially events like this, we create theater, right? We want to demonstrate what's going on. I want to explain to you that this is very much not theater. Below us, if you go downstairs to the bathroom, as I do whenever I come into a building and did this morning, there is a culinary arts training going on downstairs. 10 folks are hard at work to build their skills in language and culinary arts, and the Simply Serve, certification. And they also have prepared the food that we're going to eat today. So the real work is going on below us between the New England Culinary of Arts Training, NECAT, and the Y in collaboration. And you'll hear about the work of so many other nonprofits. But I just think there's something beautiful and authentic about both talking about the work and being about the work in the same building simultaneously. And we thank the city and the Office of Workforce Development for giving us the honor and privilege of hosting you all while that's taking place downstairs. So let's give them a round of applause. And so with that, I'm going to introduce you to Brooke Machado. She's the Senior Program Manager for Adult Education at the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development. She has been in the position for a couple years. She's an experienced educator and trainer, learning designer and instructor, obviously passionate about equity and access, and one of the many people in Trin's office making this a reality every day, making sure we're investing in our workforce of now, our workforce of the future, and a workforce that includes everyone. So with that, I'll bring on Brooke. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And good morning, everyone. It is so nice to see so many of our partners and advocates in this work here today. Welcome to the City of Boston Mayor's Office of Workforce Development's Learning Lab event, DigLit 2.0 launch with a panel on digital skills for workforce success. That's a long title, and we're happy that you came. So I'm Brooke, and like David mentioned, I work in the Office of Workforce Development for the City of Boston. Thank you all for joining us today and for your deep partnerships. We are here to celebrate the expansion of the Digital Literacy Initiative and learn together from the panel discussion. So the City of Boston is committed to ensuring that all residents, especially those facing systemic barriers, have access to education and training that lead to living wage careers. We focus on aligning programs with employer needs so that residents gain the skills that they need to acquire quality jobs. The DigLit initiative is a key part of this commitment. It helps to close the digital divide by integrating essential digital skills into training and adult basic education programs that we work with. As technology increasingly shapes the job market, we are here to ensure that all Boston residents have access to the training and resources that they need to succeed. So today, we're celebrating the launch of DigLit 2.0, made possible by a $1 million Community Project Funds grant secured through the advocacy of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. The funding strengthens our ability to support Boston's community-based job training programs and career readiness programs, keeping them at the forefront of integrating digital skills instruction into their programs. So implemented with our partner in this work, World Education, helped us with the pilot, which we conducted with 25 adult basic education providers from our Adult Literacy Initiative. I see several of those folks here today, and we're happy to be here with you. This initiative expanded in 2023 and is now providing technical assistance with funding to 20 of our job readiness and occupational skills training programs here in Boston. If you're a participant in a program of DigLit 2.0, will you just raise your hands? We want to see you, we want to acknowledge you, and we want to say thank you. These are the folks that are doing the work. Okay, so many of these programs, they are serving individuals facing systemic barriers to employment. In their training programs, they're serving women, immigrants, refugees, BPS parents, youth, unhoused populations, returning citizens, and mature workers. You can see the entire list of the subrecipients on our agenda today or when you visit the DigLit website, which we'll share with you after this event. So we are proud to invest in digital literacy as a pathway to economic opportunity and workforce success. And with that, I'm honored to introduce Trinh Nguyen, the Chief of the Worker Empowerment Cabinet, whose leadership has been instrumental in advancing this work. Trinh.
Thank you, everyone. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is on her way, and so my job is to try to keep it as succinct as possible and time it. That's what I do, is kind of make everything fit like at the last minute, because that's what I do. But a couple of things. One is that I want to thank Dave Shapiro for his leadership, his honesty, transparency, and that's what you need now. I mean, there is this balance between getting work done, be honest, and stand up for what we believe in, but then be diplomatic to move our movement forward at the same time. So David, thank you for being a partner for the city, and the Y has just been an anchor to this country and to the city of Boston and to the state. When I first came to America, the Y was there for us, as well as Catholic Charities when we came as refugees in the early 1980s. So this work is very deep and personal to me, as my parents did not know how to speak English, and our family of 6 came here with almost nothing. So programs like Digital Lit, Adult Basic Education, ESOL, and all that you do really moves that passion forward. So I want to thank you not just for being here, but then working as a team so that we can carry the legacy of this democracy forward, because that's what it's about. So a couple of things. My name is Trinh Nguyen. I have the honor of serving Mayor Wu and the administration and the city of Boston as the Chief of Workforce Development and Worker Empowerment. We have a lot of staff members and partners, which I know since I was most of you since I was a kid working in the city. Just to raise your hand to thank you for all that you do for putting this event together, for being our partners no matter what. So just to raise your hand, all our staff to raise their hand, just give them a round of applause. It's not easy for working for me, so I have to give them an Oscar. And then I also want to congratulate everyone and the partners, even though those who are not here, to celebrate the launch of DigLit 2.0 and engage in an important conversation on the impact of digital literacy in Boston. As you know, Mayor Wu firmly believes that all Bostonians need intentional and comprehensive access to thrive. Obtaining the adequate resources, education, and skills training is essential to building a family and home here in the city of Boston. We roll up our sleeves, that's what the mayor believes in, and we work for the community and the residents of Boston day in and day out. Since Mayor Wu took office, she has prioritized skills training and career pathways for Boston's youth and working families, because it is workers and families that drive the engine of the economy of the city of Boston. Make no mistake. And it's because of that ecosystem that we all build and you all build with residents and families and communities that employers come here. We have the diverse talent that sustains the economy and make the businesses thrive here in the city of Boston. Today's event reflects the ongoing commitment. It's all of a collaborative strategy to strengthen the connections between adult basic education, ESOL, workforce training, and employer engagement. We cannot do this without employers. So we want to thank all the employers that are here. I know that Brett Jacobson, manager of distributed generation Eversource, is here. And then also YMCA is also a great employer. All of our nonprofits is an employer. NECAT is an employer, trainer, resident organization. So I want to thank NECAT, and they are the serving breakfast for us. And those apple turners and those muffins, better watch out. And let me tell you, we have worked with NECAT on a bridge program that provides job readiness, ESOL, and ABE to really weave in the system to make sure that NECAT has the workers that they need for the hospitality industry. We also have Zachary Thomason, who's a senior engineering manager for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, who are one of many employers who are here, and you will hear from them at a later point with the panelists. We know that presidents and CEOs of major companies are important to making a leadership commitment to hiring, but we want to work with hiring managers to roll up our sleeves, to create curriculum, in a work environment within a training program, an ABE, ESOL integration, so we can get you the workforce. So while we love the leadership and CEO commitment from employers, we ask that we have contact and direct engagement with your hiring managers so we can develop that curriculum and that continuity for your talent pipeline, because that's what we're about. But I just want to recognize a few other folks who are already here and the partners. YMCA for their generosity for hosting us and for its role as an ABE and training provider, offering valuable ESOL classes, training, and programs for immigrants at this very site. So thank David Shapiro for YMCA's partnership in this work. Do It for digital equity efforts and support for today's event. FCT for playing an instrumental role in helping to put today's panel together. And our panelists, both employers and training partners, who will share their insights. And then also the community leaders here today. But most importantly, we are here to thank Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley for her fearless leadership since I was a kid and a young woman, immigrant woman, as I work into a leadership role here in the city of Boston. Her leadership and advocacy have made it possible to expand access to digital literacy so that more Boston residents have the skills they need to thrive in a rapidly changing labor market. Digital literacy is no longer optional. It is essential for success in nearly every industry and job. The Mayor's Office of Workforce Development connects Boston residents to job training and education that lead to good jobs with fair wages. This is not about a handout program. This is not just about a job. It's a career pathway so that every Boston resident can access the democracy and American dream in this great city. As part of this effort, DigLit helps workforce development programs strengthen their digital literacy training and align the digital skills employers expect. By providing targeted support and resources, DigLit ensures that residents are prepared for the demands of today's economy. So I want to not only thank Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and her team, but I want to acknowledge that money is important, don't get me wrong. And the $1 million over a few and several consecutive years are always important, and my partners will agree with that. But what's really powerful is that it was a mechanism to bring partnership together. We were able to use this $1 million over 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years, so a total of $3 million. Hopefully there will be more sustained commitment. But each of those, that 1 million seeds a leverage of $17 million of city workforce funding. And just the 20 agencies that we were able to provide technical assistance and partnership, convening the power of employers, participants, training, community colleges, because we don't want the graduates of the training programs just to finish with a certification. We want them to think about higher education, post-secondary education, so that they'll have options. And with that 1 million, we were able to leverage 20 powerful partnerships with DESE, who's also here, Suzanne is also here, averaging about $11 million of investments, occupational training, and over 10,000 of other residents and programs at the same time. So I want to thank Ayanna Pressley for her commitment. Know that you're the seeds that you seed within the city of Boston, and with our strong partnerships, that lives forever and the legacy will thrive. So without further ado, I want to introduce and bring up Ayanna Pressley to make a few remarks, followed by a panel of employers and training programs to let you know about the results of the impact that we'll have way after when the grant is done. Thank you, Ayanna Pressley.
Trent, seeing you up here is not only a reminder of how long we've been doing this work and doing this work together, but we both wear readers now. Grateful for your leadership. It is good to be home, y'all. It is good to be in the MA7, it's good to be in Boston, it's good to be in East Boston. At the YMCA to celebrate the power of matching investment with a clarity of vision and purpose. Thank you to Mayor Wu, the city's Office of Workforce Development, the U.S. Department of Labor, Employment and Training Administration, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Adult and Community Learning, my colleagues at every level of government, and all the community members that are here. But most importantly, thank you to the partner organizations and the current and future participants in the DigLit program for giving all of us hope in this moment. Today is a celebratory moment, the culmination of years of work by the city, the partner organizations, and so many here today. At a time when Republicans in Congress are weaponizing federal dollars and using every tool they can to obstruct funding for critical programs like these, it is important to take stock of our victories and highlight the important progress that we've made. And that's why we're here today. Today is the very best evidence for the transformational power of what I like to characterize as cooperative governing. Programs and initiatives that are community-driven, government-endorsed, and invested in. Ones that are rooted in the lived experience of the individuals and families that stand to benefit from this type of workforce development opportunity. And ones that empower community to build on the skills and expertise they cross the threshold with every day and ask, how can we amplify your gifts? And what do you need to thrive? And how do we give our adult learners, our lifelong learners, the tools to compete in the digital age? We always talk about, well, allegedly we live in a meritocracy and that education is the great equalizer. But that's only true if everyone has equitable access and can fit it into the real-world considerations that all of our families are managing. It's not always true, if you build it, they will come. It requires intentional outreach and partnership to make a program like DigLit successful. Now, despite my Republican colleagues' opposition to really every damn thing, to investing in communities, Marvin gave me an amen on that, to investing in communities and people across the country, the sweat equity, the commitment of our providers and families to not settle for the status quo. And the sense of community in this room, I'm asked every day, what is giving you hope? And Pastor Broderick, I just keep returning to Dr. King's words, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And we have to continue to choose community. And that's where I'm finding hope. That's where I derive a strength. In rooms like this one today and throughout the Massachusetts 7th, regardless of the chaos and callousness, we continue to push back daily. The chance to see the impact of this community project funding and the 30-plus community projects that I've delivered to this district, $39 million in federal investments and community project funding writ large. Been humbled to steward through the appropriations process since 2022, have been some of my proudest moments as your Congresswoman. You know, in doing this work, you don't always, you're sort of paying it forward. And you don't know if the impact of your work you'll even realize in your lifetime. And so community project funding has been incredible because we do get to see that palpable, tangible impact and what is possible through cooperative governing and good government. The Massachusetts 7th is home to innovators, community builders, do-gooders of all kinds, and it is an honor to continue to do this work with you. From small business supports through BECMA, ACEDON, Amplify Latinx, to infrastructure investments in Chelsea, Everett, and Somerville streets, to industry-leading substance use disorder programming through Dimmick Community Health Center. These are some of our community project funding investments. And now today, the expansion of the DigLit initiative this morning. All of these investments are generational investments. Pastor Broderick has heard me tell the story a number of times about my visit to a reservation, organizing for the first time with indigenous people on an environmental injustice issue. And as I was leaving that reservation, one of the elders said to me, "Congresswoman, when you leave here, be a better ancestor than descendant." And those words and that call to action has never left me. To be a better ancestor than descendant. DigLit will have generational impact, an enduring and generational impact. This program and the federal dollars that we've delivered for it will help improve the quality of adult education and workforce development across our city, and it will help our city deliver the essential digital skills our residents need for today's evolving job market. So congratulations on the launch of phase 2 of this incredible program, and thank you for inviting me to play a small role in making our aspirations real.
Thank you so much, Representative Pressley. Well, who could follow that? I'll tell you who. 2 of our implementing partners. So I'm going to be telling you who will be speaking next. So Lancer Wang from the YMCA of Greater Boston was one of our implementing partners from the first round. She's going to come speak to the impact that this type of project had on our program. She'll be followed by Ari Brands from St. Stephen's Youth Programs, who is a current partner. So she's a subrecipient of the funds that we're implementing with this project. So I'm gonna call up Lancer next. And really what we'll hear now is what these dollars do at the program level. So thank you, Lancer.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Okay, so I'm Lancer from the YMCA of Greater Boston. It's so great to see all the familiar faces here, our partners from the state, from the city, and also all the friends from the communities, and also, of course, our peers from our Y Association. So thank you, Brooke, for inviting me to share our stories about the DigLit 1.0. Just to tell you a little bit about our program. So we run adult education program, ABE, and thanks to the support from DESI, we offer free ESOL classes to immigrants here in Massachusetts. So in 2022, when this digital literacy initiative first established, YMCA of Greater Boston was very fortunate to receive this funding. As a new director back then, I was so proud to implement this initiative. I remember 2022, if you remember that, a time when COVID still deeply affected our program. All our classes were online. Our teachers were busily adapting to virtual instruction, and our students struggled to use Zoom and Google Classroom. It was a very challenging period for programs like us. But it also exposed two major gaps in adult education. One, limited or the lack of skills in teaching and learning. Two, unequal access to technology. So I remember when I first joined our team, I discovered that 1/3 of our students didn't have a computers at home. Many lacked the stable internet access, and they required a lot of support from our staff just to attend Zoom classes. Then I was introduced to this digital literacy initiative. As a part of the initiative, we worked closely with World Education. Our coaches here, Shirley is here, thank you so much for your support. So we developed the needs analysis and also developed the action plans to better support our staff and our students. So we used the funding to offer tech workshop for our teachers, open computer classes for our students, and also we purchases devices for those who are in need, and also tried our best to integrate digital literacy into our ESOL curriculum. And the results were transformative. In fiscal years 2022 to 2023, our enrollment surged by 20%. Our students' retention rate soared and students advanced. They entering the workforce, they joining the job training programs, and also they pursue higher education after graduated from our program. So all made possible by breaking the digital barrier, technology barrier. So when the technology barrier was lifted, a whole new world opened up. So today, I'm very proud to say that all our teachers, no matter part-time or full-time, they are tech-savvy educators. They even initiated a tech-sharing group within their own, okay? So they share AI-generated technology such as ChatGPT and also Perplexity, something they never talked about a year ago. All right, and then our students thrived. They use all kinds of digital technologies. They use Canva to create slideshows for their presentation. They use, I don't know, Call Annie. Have you heard of that? Okay, to help them with the mock interview. And also they use ChatGPT to help them with resume writing and cover letter. So, I am so happy to share all this impact with you, but I also want to say something more. Last October, I ran a survey with 284 new students in our program. The results showed that 40% of them still needed technology support. So as we are serving more and more students, we also require the ongoing support, like initiatives like this, DigLit 2.0, to keep our students being more and more successful. Okay, so that's why I'm so happy to witness the launching of the DigLit 2.0 event here, and to know that, the expansion of this initiative and our workforce team are now benefiting from this initiative. So again, I'm so excited to be here to celebrating the launching of the DigLit 2.0, and on behalf of our program, our team, and our students, thank you so much for making everything possible again. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Ari Brands. I'm the Director of Organizing at St. Stephen's Youth Programs. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, as well as for the funding that is allowing us to dive into our digital literacy journey. SSYP's mission is to promote equity in education, employment, and opportunity for young people and their families and communities. For nearly a decade, our Parent Mentor program has empowered Boston's parents and caregivers by training them to work in classrooms in their children's schools. They participate in weekly trainings on early literacy, community organizing, mental health, and so much more. Many of them had never considered a career in education before this, or that they could work in a professional job in the United States with limited English. But they quickly discover a passion for working with children. We found that each year, 40% of our 40 parent mentors were getting jobs in schools, including in roles as bus monitors, lunch monitors, and paraprofessionals. But parent mentors wanted more. They asked for educational opportunities to advance their careers in schools, so we created ladders of opportunity. Participants enroll in English classes, high-set prep, our in-house paraprofessional prep program, or the lead teacher credential program at Urban College that allows them to earn free college credits in Spanish and prepares them to work as early childhood educators. I just have to say, Tuesday, I found out that 100% of our 18 participants passed their second course with A's and B's. Yet, digital literacy remains a major barrier. When Urban College provided all participants with laptops, most people didn't know how to use them, and they struggled with basic functions like navigating class platforms, submitting assignments, or using Zoom. Our frontline staff, and shout out to Ursula right there, our frontline staff are all graduates of our Parent Mentor program, 100%. And they've been asking for more digital skills too, because they need to support their participants better. With DigLit funding, we're closing this gap. We're planning a 3-step digital literacy program. First, hiring an instructor for a train-the-trainer model with our frontline staff. Second, with support from World Education coaches, integrating digital literacy into parent mentor programming. And third, offering targeted training for participants who want to improve their skills even more. This investment ensures our graduates become competitive, career-ready educators. I want to end by sharing a short story. Recently, we were planning a conversation with our parent mentors about the impacts of the current administration's cuts to the Department of Education. One of our staff waved a printed paper at me. "Look, Ari, how's this?" As I read through the neatly formatted list of the top 6 impacts, something was off. "Where did you get this information?" I asked ChatGPT. I share this not to say that there's no place for AI, but to caution us that these digital tools can be dangerous without knowledge of how to use them. I asked her permission to share this story, and she wanted to add, "This shows how vulnerable we are to digital platforms. I learned you need to verify." Digital literacy isn't just about computer skills. It's about the ability to parse real information from fake information, which is especially critical to a thriving democracy in these times. Thanks to this initiative, our parent mentors will be better prepared to lead, teach, and succeed. Thank you.
You probably thought you were done with me, but I'm not just your opening act, I'm also your halftime show. Not quite Kendrick Lamar, Congresswoman Pressley tells me, but I'll try. So 20 years ago, she told me she wanted to be the mentoring city councilor. So as I heard parent mentor, I thought about what a mentor she's been to all of us in the journey. We've all been watching you with admiration and respect. So we come into each other's contact when we're in service, and it means everything. I want to introduce the panel. The Congresswoman talked about community and hope. And she mentioned Reverend Broderick, who is a proud board member, one of my 35 bosses, so tell him I did a good job on the welcome. But I think also bearing witness and testimony, right, is an important part of community. What happens when we get everybody on the field, and that's what this morning's about. So we're gonna have an all-star panel come up here. I'm gonna introduce you the moderator of the panel. And I also, just as I listened to Ariane Lancer, I thought a lot about, again, we talked about synergy earlier, the sort of, when we think about digital, we sort of think about removing humans, right? But the power in this of supported pathways is when skills, hard skills like digital skills and digital tools are matched with human support, right? And that's what these nonprofits are providing, and that's sort of the magic and science of what we're gonna hear about. Our moderator, Priyanka Sharma, is the VP of World Education, who you've heard a little bit about this morning. For over 3 years, she's been the vice president there, and I think she's been there for a little over 19 years, is that right? Sorry, you started when you were 15. She's the founder of Digital US, which she co-founded, a national initiative focused on advancing digital equity, so she's providing local and national leadership. A director for the National Education Literacy Resource Center, which leads regional collaboration among policymakers, developers, and practitioners. And she provides leadership on readiness and pathways in career all over the country and leveraging our education and employers to do so. So she's gonna lead us and orchestrate this amazing panel, and then you'll have to see me one more time, and then we'll let you eat that great food from the folks in our program. So thank you so much, and bring on Priyanka.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's event. I'm Priyanka Sharma from World Education. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, it's hard to follow the real stories of impact that you've seen and heard, and as part of World Education and the work we do, not just in Boston, because we're Boston-based, around the country, but around the world, what I think is key to all of that is something that Congresswoman said before, is to be a better ancestor. I think that's something that I want to take to heart. And also think about extending it to institutions and organizations, is the legacies that institutions and organizations have left behind, and where we are today and where we lead them in the future. The conversation today that I am really excited to lead is around digital skills and workforce readiness. Something that remains a challenge in 2025. And in today's world where smartphones are ubiquitous, emails and apps and AI is everywhere, nearly 1/3 of US workers still lack digital skills, which is shocking because there's multiple surveys and research studies that say that over 90% of jobs today require some level of digital skills. So that kind of speaks to the critical need and urgency and the continued work and investment that needs to be done at all levels, so that we're not, we're being good stewards of the present and the future. And one of the other sort of myths out there is that you need digital skills if you have a tech job, or like if you are working in a certain sector where you need to just interact with technology a little bit more. And we're understanding more that they're critical than ever in every industry, from healthcare, property management to retail, construction, farming, and across all sectors of work. And our panelists will speak to some of those needs and highlight the work that they're doing. And one of the things that I wanted to sort of prime you all as you think about taking all the brilliant information in is thinking about what do digital skills, digital literacy, what does it mean? Because I think if we sort of went around and I asked each one of you, every one of you is going to have a different understanding, a different definition of what that means. And to me, it's more thinking about how we all need to be digitally fluent and eventually digitally resilient. And you mentioned the Digital Us Coalition with World Education founded and leads. We came up with this idea of digital resilience, which is the ability to adapt and grow as digital technologies change. You mentioned this, the ChatGPT and the disinformation that can be generated from an AI perspective, and it's really critical to think about the digital skills we're teaching are the digital skills that are needed today, but how we're working all the time to make sure that we remain ahead of the curve, not just in workforce preparation, but making sure that we're updating what we're teaching and moving forward with technology. And again, I just want to thank the Trin and your office and your team. It has been a pleasure to work on DigLit with you as partners, and being a witness to the impact it has had over the past couple of years, and it's been our pleasure to be partners since 2022. Today, I'm gonna stop talking soon, but as you heard from Brooke, the digital literacy initiative, the DigLit initiative, has deepened its impact over the years, and now in DigLit 2.0, we're working with 20 occupational training providers to ensure that the participants gain digital skills they need, not just to complete training programs, but to successfully navigate the modern workplace. And today our discussion will explore how we can continue to bridge the digital skills gap, and most importantly, foster digital resilience and ensure that all workers, regardless of industry or background, can thrive in today and tomorrow's digital economy. So let me begin with introducing our esteemed panel. I don't know how we want to do this, but we have Mark Cregan, Manufacturing Manager at Life Sciences. Hi, Mark. You want to join us here? We have Brett Jacobson, Manager of Distributed Generation at Eversource. Welcome, Brett. Dr. Marvin Lasso, from the Dean of Academic and Student Affairs at Franklin Cummings Tech. Welcome. Rob Lowell, from Senior Director of Workforce Development. Come on over, Rob. This is your home. We're just guests here. Macy Reed, Director of Workforce Development from Boston Medical Center. Corinne Stoyanov, I'm so sorry, I hope I said that correctly, Director of Adult Career Training from Just a Start. And Zachary Thompson, Senior Engineering Manager from Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Uh-oh. All right, let's dive in. And we have one mic, so there's going to be a lot of sharing is caring action happening over there. So we'll make this work. So over the past 5 years, I want to start, I think here, thank you all for being here. And we have a carefully curated combination of employers and training providers on the panel, because I feel like a lot of the training providers are also employers, so we want to bring in both of those perspectives. And I want to start with some of you who are, chiefly employers, but do a lot of workforce readiness programming within your programs. As you think about the past 5 years, we talked about the critical digital skills divide that exists in the country. There has also been shifts in the nature of work in the last 5 years. I want to start with asking you about the biggest changes you've seen in job roles, especially for folks who don't have a college credential, also around AI, but digital technologies in general, as there's more and more interaction between, in jobs and the expectation of digital skills. And do you see certain roles disappearing, evolving, or emerging? We'll start with you, Zach. Let me see that.
Thank you. Good, thank you. Okay, good morning. So I found working for a cancer treatment and research facility that digital skills are truly essential. So more specifically, in my department, in the building engineering, engineering management, and facilities management world, it's become crucial to have those skills to complete daily tasks. So for example, typical office skills, such as sending or reading email, entering time cards, or using the Microsoft Suite programs, allows us to communicate with our peers and accomplish tasks. For energy management specifically, employees need to be able to download digital invoices, process those invoices by entering utility usage, utility costs, and then send those invoices to our accounts payable platform for payment, all of which is through a digital platform. For facilities management, it's become common now for facilities such as ours to use something called building management software, where technicians or mechanics or building operators use this software to monitor the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems and see what the status, make sure they're operating correctly. From there, they can see maybe something's not working correctly and then respond to an issue and fix the problem. Also, that same staff use a work order platform where, say, building occupants need a light bulb changed or there's a leak, and those mechanics will need to respond to those problems. But they need to be able to access those work orders, again, through a digital platform. And then to drill down a little more specifically in my department, the engineering and construction world, almost all meetings we have, I'd say 95% of my meetings are all virtual. That sometimes results in too many meetings, but that's a different story. But and it allows for flexibility. So we work with consultants, contractors, subcontractors, and the virtual meetings allow to work with people's busy schedules. As far as AI, our facilities use something called fault detection software. And basically this AI program monitors that building management system that I mentioned 24/7, 365. And it'll flag any issues with the mechanical systems, create a list, perhaps put a cost savings associated with it. So if you repair this problem, you'll save this much annually on utility costs. Building operators, again, need to access that separate platform in order to rectify those issues. So I would say that, again, specific to AI, it hasn't, at least in our facilities, it hasn't replaced employees, but it's helped them improve their day-to-day operations, help them address issues that they're hired to do.
That's great. It's interesting to kind of hear all the different kind of platforms and interactions that are expected from workers with these digital platforms, and something that has been new in the past 5 or so more years. Macy, we would love to hear more from you from the Boston Medical Center, like that perspective around the proliferation of the expectations around digital skills and comfort and fluency from like a healthcare perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Morning, everyone. And to build off of Zach, there's so much digital literacy that is needed before you even get into a role. All of the applications are online, orientation, onboarding, everything's through email, everything, requires maybe a login, a password that you have to remember, and a password is different when you're an applicant and then when you're an employee and all of that. And from healthcare, it's a completely different landscape at the current moment where many appointments are online. You have your reminder online. Maybe you even have your test results. Your medication is online through our Epic and MyChart. And so it is required both as a patient, it's required as an applicant, it's required as an employer and an employee, and even all of our even flu compliance, you have to log into a portal and that. So everyone needs to have some level of digital literacy to even work in healthcare, and even, no matter what your role, no matter what your level.
That's great. Mark, you're all the way over there, so it'll take us a second to get to you, but it would be great from your perspective to share how jobs are evolving from your context.
Morning, everyone. Happy first day of spring. So for the last 30 years, I've been in manufacturing, between semiconductors, now life sciences, and biotech. I've seen numerous changes over the years. The hands-on skills are still present. We still rely on our training partners to help provide those for us. But things have changed. Now, that's only half the job. So the team would go into the bio-suites. They will manufacture the product. The last 3.5 years, one of the products that my team manufactured was a gene therapy that cured multiple myeloma. The second half of that was coming out and doing the computer work for our financials so we could get paid. So very important. Also, the landscape has changed as far as the job ladders. Things have moved to more automated systems. With those, they present their own unique issues. Also, opportunities. There are now automation technicians that are needed to help troubleshoot the problems, to get things back on track. In manufacturing, time is money. You cannot have a system down. You need to be making this product. The manufacturing technicians know the problems on the floor better than anyone, better than me in management. So when we have the opportunity to promote them into these automation roles, it's a win-win for everybody. But they need the skills to be able to get there. So again, we have to rely on our training partners to help prepare them so when they come in, they can hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. So things have changed where it's opened up more opportunities, not just more problems. So it is a very exciting time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Brett, I was wondering if you want to share a little bit from an Eversource perspective around how jobs are shifting, and also, how are you supporting your current teams differently?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thanks to the Y, right? All our kids know how to swim now because of them. I feel great that we just wrapped up the 7th grade basketball season, so feel right at home with the hoop above my head. And thanks for the invite. So, Eversource, we have a broad spectrum of type of workers. We have, a lot of guys in the field, a lot of hands-on type of work, and, obviously, the business side as well. Both sides impacted by technology. Utilities in general kind of have a unique relationship with technology. One of the biggest risks to us is cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. So any type of systems that we decided to test or roll out, including AI, it definitely has to go through a lot of validation. That's like the biggest risk to all of us right now is, someone breaking into our utility systems, whether it's electric, water, what have you. So it's definitely a huge topic for us. On the day-to-day level, I agree. You have to kind of come in the door with some sort of base knowledge of navigating your way through, getting online, opening up systems. There's a ton of training we have systems that our systems change and get updated. But you definitely need to have just that base comfort level of at least having the confidence, I can figure this out. Yeah. Systems are systems, applications, are apps. They're all a little different. Like I can never tell you, hey, learn this and you're gold, right? You need to have kind of a broader, confidence, I would say. Because I've seen a lot of people without a lot of training kind of just roll up their sleeves and end up, because it interests them maybe, become one of their, one of our, stronger teammates. So, that's where we are. I kind of, did that answer the question? The full
yes,
question?
Yes.
Right.
And I have more questions for you in a bit. So hold that thought. So from an employer perspective, we've kind of heard this. There's this theme of increasingly move from just digital skills as just skills, but like integrated ways of thinking about digital skills from a perspective of digital fluency and eventually digital resilience, as I talked about before. And so my question is more for the training providers is, in this changing landscapes of the needs of the employers, the nature of work shifting, how are you responding to that from the way in which you're preparing learners and workers in your programs? So Brett, if you want to move Rob, my first question, the question is for you. We'll start with you and move to Marvin and then Corinne around how has the training design and how has the work changed from your perspective, especially with AI, but also this need of preparing workers with this level of digital comfort and fluency?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So at the YMCA, we run several workforce programs. David mentioned one that's happening right down here. I think I can smell the great food. But we also run a Woburn program, a culinary program in Woburn, and 3 workforce development programs at 100 Franklin. One is medical administration, the second is property management administration, and the third is our early childhood apprenticeship program. And I think what we have found is it is becoming increasingly important to, when we're working with employers for job training programs, integrate the curriculum that we already have so that it works for the employers. I think that, the first question asked, do we see jobs shifting at the Y? And I think David alluded to that. We're a people business. Where I think AI is going to come into play is we're going to have to figure it out and find out where it's safe to use. When we were on our first call, I likened it to Y2K, and I'm hoping I'm not the only one that remembers what that was. Thank you. But we all had to look at our organizational structure, make things not turn off at 2000. And I really feel like with AI, we're going to have to do kind of a landscape of assessment for all of our organizations to find out where it fits in and then where it doesn't. I will just add that in many of our programs, we have folks that can't turn a computer on, and we have folks that can build. And it's coming up, and I'll talk about this later, a structure that moves everybody along at their own pace. Because we all know when we're not comfortable with technology, we're not as effective in our job, we're not even that nice sometimes, right? And so it's really, really critical.
Marvin, would you like to?
Yes, what's happened at Franklin Cummings Tech is really interesting because we had to retrain our instructors, right? Because all of a sudden, now AI has a lot of technologies, ChatGPT, and we had to really train our instructors on how to help students use ChatGPT. How do they use the AI technology? How do they cite it properly? And so the training had to happen with our faculty. We also had it in a situation where we have a computer technology program, a software development track, and we realized that the entry-level jobs in the software development track were taken by AI technology. And so we had to pivot a little bit. But what we realized was that now that everything is online, now that everything is digital, everything has a network, it's easy for anyone to hack into those networks. So like what Brett said, cybersecurity is critically important. So we are now training in cybersecurity space where we're making sure that our students understand how a hacking situation can happen, how to solve that problem, and how to help the companies realize their potential. One of the things is that many companies are looking for people with experience in that, and so that forced us to open up our own clinic on campus where students are able to actually work with, thanks to our partnership with BECMA, work with those organizations to help them become a consultant and show them how vulnerable some of their networks and systems are. So the students are really getting that hands-on training. And thank you, BECMA, for being a part of that. I don't know if anybody from BECMA is here, but anyway. So that is a great opportunity too. But I think what's critically important is that when companies are looking and using these new platforms and AI technology, we also have to understand that some of our students, we have justice involved students. So some of our students, they're gonna have some articles that pop up because of the AI that shows some of their cases that they were convicted of, they went to prison, they served their time, and now they're out and trying to change their lives. Some of these AI technologies excludes them from that and doesn't allow them to get a seat at the table for an interview to impress these folks. So what we've had to do at the college was we've had to take that extra step in helping students realize what is out there, what is behind their name, and what is out there, and what do they need to do, and how do they communicate that to the employer to help them land a job. So,
thanks, Corinne.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Corinne, and I am here representing Justice Start. And we have a biotechnology careers program that trains folks to get into the life sciences. And I think something that I've seen is really this need to emphasize experiential learning. I think we have a lot of colleagues, nonprofit partners in here. We're very used to doing a lot with more modest means. And the program has been around for more than 30 years, which means that we've benefited from a lot of donations of older equipment, kits, simulation technologies, and with the current landscape, that's really just not going to cut it anymore to give folks the experiential learning opportunities that they need to be attractive candidates for these jobs. And that starts from even their basic laptops that they get with us during the program. You know, they can't be using old 10-year-old laptops that we've gotten generously donated from companies, but it's not going to really cut it anymore with what we're doing with students. And, we need to be working with them from day one on the basic skills that you've heard about from everyone up here, navigating Zoom, even just attaching files to emails, some of the basic stuff that we can sometimes take for granted as really important digital literacy skills. But then it goes beyond that. In the biotechnology world, again, old equipment, simulations kits, that's not going to work anymore. We were very fortunate to get a very large Mass Life Science Center capital grant to help outfit our lab with technology that actually models what folks will see in the jobs now. So we have new equipment that is connected to the cloud that folks can do data downloads from, that they can be actually integrating that into the learning curriculum in a way that really gives them those powerful skills to kind of bring to employer partners. And I think another piece of this that Brett touched on before is that confidence level, right? Even if we have all of this beautiful new equipment, they're going to go to a lab that doesn't have that exact same piece, right? Or there's going to be a different portal for entering your hours or something like that. So it's really also about giving these folks that confidence, that digital resilience, so that they know that when they see a new piece of equipment, when they see a new piece of software, a platform, a new way of downloading their data or uploading their data, that they're gonna, reach deep and be like, okay, this is similar to something that I've learned in my training, and I feel like I'm ready to handle that.
Thanks for that. And I think that also speaks to the evolving nature of digital skills and that the need for those transferable skills and comfort in shifting between platform to platform, context to context. And from an employer perspective, like since this is something that we're still in the midst of all the change brought about by interacting with digital platforms, technology, and AI, how has this impacted or how is this shaping your hiring and recruitment practices, especially for a lot of the workers we're talking about here, who may or may not have a post-secondary credential and are being trained and have a lot of lived experience to other sources? Are there specific technical skills like critical thinking, AI literacy, digital communication, or other soft skills like adapting to new technology? Like digital resilience is an idea, it's a soft skill, and that we're trying to develop. And have those become more important in your evaluation process? I don't know who wants to start with that. I think Mark, do you want to start with a response?
So when I'm assessing a candidate, I have to really focus on the technical skills. This is a heavily regulated industry. We really have to make sure that the people that we're bringing in know what they're doing. So I don't have the bandwidth to be able to also assess their training gaps as far as digital literacy, their soft skills course, their grasp of the soft skills, the professionalism in the workforce. I really need to focus on what they can do in the bio suites. So I tend to rely more on my training partners, and with that, I've seen a great improvement by reaching out to the nonprofits that we've worked with just to start, being able to tap into their alumni network. They give me candidates that I don't have to worry about their digital literacy skills. I don't have to worry about their soft skills. I can focus on what they need to do in their jobs to be successful. So it hasn't changed for me where I'm looking at it because I leverage my training partners.
Macy, you want to go next? And from there we could go Zach and Brett.
Thank you. At BMC, we do use AI in terms of an initial screener with applications. The initial application for job applicants has a couple yes/no questions to either rule in individuals or potentially rule out individuals. But I really want to reiterate that we don't use AI for any more than that in terms of the hiring process, because we do realize that there are biases in terms of making sure that people might not be the right fit for roles. We also just created an AI governance board too that is now putting more structure and more guardrails around how employees use AI and what's needed or not needed in terms of that. I also want to reiterate that many roles in healthcare now require some level of digital literacy in terms of, Zoom, as Zach mentioned, scheduling telehealth appointments. And so that some roles that never required the use of Zoom or telehealth now do. And so as a workforce development department, we are also looking and have rolled out internal trainings for incumbent workers who might need a little extra boost in terms of either Excel or Microsoft Teams or even PowerPoint to help with their professional development and just be a stronger performer in their role.
So from my experience, again, when hiring people, my focus is certainly more on evaluating their skills specific to what role they're filling. However, I have seen that there is some necessity to have digital skills when you're being hired. For example, I mean, in my career, my first few jobs, I walked in with a paper resume and say, "Can I have a job, please?" And that certainly shifted where now applying for a job is, at least at Dana-Farber, is certainly online. You have to be able to submit a PDF of your resume to a portal. And from there, as employees are hired and brought on, it's assumed that they're able to navigate to our online portal where they can enter their, say, benefit information, what benefits they want to select, banking information so we can send them a direct deposit for payments, requesting time off. Again, I used to walk up to my boss and say, "Can I have Monday off," or whatever, but now you have to do that all on a digital platform, on a calendar. So certainly when a new employee is brought on board, human resources will help them navigate those specific platforms that might be unique to to Dana-Farber. But after that, I mean, there are always resources, but there is some assumption that the new employee will be able to navigate things if they need to change their information, their benefit details, things like that. So it just really emphasizes that new employees really need to be able to know how to navigate those things right away.
Brett, you want to go next? In terms of thinking about like how, as you work with your teams, like how has sort of like that made its way into the hiring recruitment process? Like, just...
Yeah, I'm not really on the front end of that, but I have been kind of thinking as I've been listening, a couple thoughts. So at the high school level, back when, at least when I was a kid, we used to have like woodworking classes and photography and typing and accounting and things like that. The schools that I'm aware of don't really have any of that, and this would be a sweet spot for kind of putting those type of programs back in, along with getting a credit card and learn some stuff about life, but different topic. I think as a launching point, like learning how to do all the basics. A lot of schools probably do, but probably not all of them. They might not have the resources, but it should be almost like this is part of getting through high school, is to be able to open up Teams, attach a document, things like that. I have 2 kids at a tech school. And the difference between the tech school and the public school on the kind of non-core is unbelievable. I'm such a big fan of the tech schools, and also what they do, like you mentioned, you're not just doing things to do them. You're looking at what the needs are, right? And adjusting, to what those needs are. So just a big fan of that model. So didn't answer the question at all.
No, you definitely, that's a really good segue. And just a fair warning to the panelists here, I'm gonna merge a bunch of our questions in the interest of time. So Brett, your point directly leads into the next part of this conversation, which is, it's really critical, not just for cost efficiency purposes, but also for learner experience and workforce, readiness. There's a cost of training, right? So the idea is that how do we make it time, cost, learning efficient for our learners, our lifelong learners, and I would love to sort of, ask you all to share, like, how do you, what are like some of the wins from successful collaborations between employers and training providers? I mean, I know we can probably start with, with Macy, you, and thinking about how you have been working with the Y for many years, and like, how do those successful collaborations over the course of time, because I think it takes time to really understand the strengths of each other's and needs as well, to cater programming accordingly.
Yeah. Back in 2023, BMC launched a patient healthcare fellowship program. We piloted it with 10 patients who selected employment as a need on their Thrive screener. So during their regular appointment with their family medicine doctor, they said, either verbally or through our Thrive screener, that employment is a barrier to their health. And we said, well, wait a second, we're helping with food, we're helping with medication. As an employer, are we helping with employment for our patients? And it sort of got the wheels moving, and we had met with probably 3 or 4 different training partners and landed on the Y because of their just in-depth knowledge of our patients and the needs and the wraparound support that they give individuals in their program, and just the ability to collaborate on this brand new initiative that we had never done before. We didn't quite know how it would be received by the fellows, by the hiring managers, and it was a great partnership that we even did it again this past year. And graduated 9 patients from our fellowship that are all employed at BMC, many starting next week.
That's
so,
great.
yeah.
And then I can just describe the implementation of the program, because I wrote down agile twice, so I think it's worth saying. It truly was an agile partnership that led to people who have never worked in their life, still working at BMC. And so if you can hear the pride, that's the reason. But the way that it worked was, once we had a shared understanding on content and needs, BMC culture, now BMC health culture, all of those things, we were able to weave that into our program. Macy and I were partners in crime. We did shared interviewing right from the start. We did shared weekly, we call them weekly performance reviews, where we'd meet with the trainees, we'd meet with Macy. We would talk through any decision that needed to be made. We were able to make that collectively, because from the Y's perspective, we were trying to build excited and motivated people to be successful in the healthcare industry, and also fit the culture with BMC. So it was a partnership right from the beginning, and hopefully we'll have 2 more good jobs in the next week.
That's great. Thank you. Marvin, I wonder if you want to share a little bit, because I think as Franklin Cummings Tech, you work in very close partnership with employers to really impact the way in which learning happens within the institution.
Yeah, so we have instituted a lot of different programmings. First, we launched our co-op program, where we partnered with several different employees by program, and basically created a year-long interview process where students actually get to work at those organizations, and the employers really get to see how our students are performing while they're taking classes with us. They are working with a co-op director and co-op manager who's partnering with the organization to make sure that they're meeting the goals. And then, we've actually developed opportunities for the students to get feedback and really understand how the students are performing and what they need to do. We also have our industry advisory board that helps us really think about how do we look at the technology that's happening and what type of technology that the companies are using today. So that helped us really frame on how the technology that we should be training our students on. And then, National Grid has started an opportunity for students to work with high school students and college students to get into the clean energy space. And also Eversource, we've worked with Eric Logan at Eversource to help us develop a training program for jobs that they're going to have a huge demand for in the next couple of years. So, these are the types of partnerships that we are developing and making sure that there are any programs that we're starting or launching, or making sure that our students have a job after they graduate from our program.
Thank you for that. I think as we're sort of wrapping up the conversation here, we have spent some time really understanding in depth the work you're doing, all of you, in different ways and impact you're having. My last question, one of the last questions, is around then thinking about what are the public policy changes out there or actions, external actions, that you believe would make the biggest impact in making you be even more effective and making a larger impact. And this is a question for everybody. So jump in. Macy, you want to start us off with that?
Sure.
You're in the hot seat.
I know, right? BMC has made a shift, and I'm sure most employers have, to move away from a very strict education requirement for most roles. And what's great about the hospital as well is we've made that shift to also have a lot of roles that require lived experience. And one barrier that I'm sort of coming across is that some of these individuals are lacking maybe digital literacy or professional etiquette, or they've never worked in an office setting before, and so how to draft an email, how to we're probably going away from phones, and more to Zoom, but just sort of meeting etiquette as well. And so the Y has been just an amazing partner to incorporate that into a lot of the trainings, but would love to have sort of a one-day professional training, job readiness training, and hopefully, we might be able to bring somebody on our team that will be able to teach that. But just sort of a standalone job readiness training would be helpful.
Great. Corinne, do you, from your training provider perspective?
Sure. So the folks in our program really span a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different ages, and I think something that we find is, our younger folks, especially those that grew up in our school systems here, do tend to have higher levels of digital literacy skills. We also serve a lot of older immigrants that may be coming with fewer digital literacy skills to start with us. So we really, are starting with a wide range of skills, and I think something more broadly that I know is a big initiative in the city of Boston and in other surrounding cities as well is this digital equity push. And I think, really doubling down in that and making sure that folks in our communities, before they even get to us as workforce development providers, have already had access to technologies, to reliable internet access, to troubleshooting support. I know at Just to Start, we have our own in-house digital navigator who's a graduate from our IT training program. And I think that level of support to residents in our community will help continue to build those foundational skills that are great feeders into programs such as ours for workforce training.
Mark, would you like to add from your perspective?
Sure. As I had said previously, we've worked with numerous training providers. We've leveraged both the alumni network of organizations like Just to Start and Jewish Vocational Services, but also the apprenticeship program with Mass Bioed. Now, what's unique about the apprenticeship program at Mass Bioed is they get a stipend while they're going through the program. This allows the students to go through and not worry about the financial hardships. Now, all of the programs have been very beneficial for us, but looking at it from the perspective of the student going through, I think there needs to be a better partnership between industry and government. There are still so many jobs out there that require a bachelor's that don't need to require a bachelor's. I think industry needs to be a little bit more flexible. There also needs to be a way that we can fund these stipends. We have so many great people out there that are just looking for a chance. I have personally seen the results. Our partnerships have been true partnerships. I've been brought in by our training providers early on as people are going through the program. I've been able to sit in their soft skill classes, give real world perspectives. That has paid dividends for us when those people graduate the program and then come to work for us. Not only do they have a face that they can look to and say, oh, you're familiar, and feel comfortable with when they're coming in, but they know what they're getting into. And that financial aspect of it makes it so easy for them to be able to go through the program. So I think, honestly, that is where we need a big impact, a big change.
Thanks for that.
I totally agree on the requirement for a bachelor's degree for so many jobs. I got a junior in high school. I got a daughter who just decided to go. It was a tough decision, right? Especially with AI coming. Is this job even going to exist by the time I graduate? What's the return? I love seeing a resume that has community college on it, and I ask why, and they tell me their thought process. Well, I didn't have the money. I wasn't sure. I didn't want to get myself in debt, and now I'm like, all right, this kid's smart.
Yeah.
Right? So I just want to echo that whole dynamic of, having checked, a box doesn't mean that you're any better than anyone who wasn't able to check that box. Maybe they just went in a different, different path. I think our culture, I graduated in the, 90. Back then it was like next step, right? It's just so different now. The cost of college is in question of whether it's worth it, the return on investment. So there's a lot of tough questions and other paths to follow. And I wish more and more companies were active in promoting that path and saying that's fine, because so many kids are afraid that if they don't go on and get higher ed, they're going to fall behind. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those are some really good sort of food for thought, and also for folks here to really think about how systems need to shift to meet the demands of the workplace. And over-reliance on post-secondary credential is starting to sort of fade away, and we have to kind of catch up. We'll pause for a moment just to kind of see if anybody has any questions for our panelists. There's a mic right over there. Yes, please.
Hi, this is for the employer side. I know a lot of you have talked about some of the programs that you've had come through in your work with your training providers. Can you speak to the quality of the applicants who are coming through and the longevity of this compared to your traditional recruiting systems?
Uh-oh, I don't know what that is. We're good. Did we all get that question, or did we get distracted? I got distracted.
I can take a stab at it. So Eversource also has a relationship with Bunker Hill Community College for its linemen. Great program for people that, for some reason decided to sit behind a desk and get 1,000 emails a day. I don't know why I did that. But people that go out in the field, love the day-to-day, being outside, doing work, getting projects done. I think it's a 2-year program, 2-year apprentice, and it leads to a great career, right? Yeah. And you can launch from that career as well, but it's just such a great way to get started without sinking yourself in a ton of debt, without really knowing what you want to be when you grow up anyhow, right? Who does when they're 18? So yeah, that's been a huge win. I don't know the exact success rate, but it's very high. And to the point made earlier, you know where you're getting. They've already kind of tested the waters to see if I like this type of work before they come in the door. So
that's a good point. I wonder, Rob or Macy, if you want to talk about, from especially the employer perspective, like what the difference there is in having that close partnership. Either one of you.
I think that it's almost like a 12-week interview when you're in conjunction with an employer, and even more than one employer. If you know your people on day one, the goal is to train and inspire and give them all the skills. It's a 12-week interview. And I could speak praises for all of the apprentices and our job training graduates for several hours, but I think this system works.
Excellent, excellent. You have another question, please, yeah?
Short follow-up on that to like tie into that last question about like policy-wise.
Right.
You guys are here because you believe in this and it's powerful for your businesses. How are we getting this to other businesses in your sector? How are we expanding this? How are we building these connections to show that these pathways really lead to quality candidates that are going to help you fill your need? I think that's the biggest next step institutionally.
Any thoughts around, I wonder, Mervyn, if you have thoughts around that in terms of, as you work with more and more area employers, making sure that, the training programs have a direct track to jobs.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we do at Franklin Cummings Tech is that we build relationships with employers, and we're getting them involved early with our co-op that I mentioned earlier, but with project-based learning, so students get to learn about different projects with the companies, like the cybersecurity clinic that we do. So it exposes students to employers. The more opportunities that students get to meet with employers, the better, because it's critically important that the employers see our students outside of the resume. And so just see that, okay, these students have the soft skills, the transitional skills, the technical skills, and the knowledge that they can to do the jobs that are out there. So
Right. And I think to add to that, one of the other things that we've seen across the country is like the closer the tie-in is in the training providers, design of a program to an employer, like learners see that too. Like they see that connection, and I think that definitely helps people persist. Because lifelong learning is tricky, because and I think one of you mentioned the cost of training, like that's time away. There's that cost of opportunities, like that's time away from like another job. So that's something to really think about, how it leads to higher graduation rates out of these programs as well. You wanted to add something?
And then Marvin brought up a really good point. I think the sooner that we can introduce employers during the actual program itself only makes things a little bit easier. And so that's been really, really valuable. I'll just share one last thing. People want to work, right? And employees want people that are skilled to work. So another model that the Y has used is a direct placement model, where we run a property management program and pre-negotiate, if you will, full-time jobs on a contract basis with our property management partners. And then throughout the first 3 months, they apply for full-time jobs that are permanent with support. So it's just another way to get skilled, excited people on payroll.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Abdi Yusuf. I'm the executive director of the Somali Development Center, an African social service agency that has been providing direct social service to our immigrants and refugees for the last 30 years. We were in Jamaica Plain for 20 years, and we're now in Nubian Square in Roxbury. We have, digital learning and digital literacy is very important. We are one of the recipients of this particular cycle, first time, and because we are running an ESL class. But we had for many years, since 2006, a workforce development program funded by the Office of Workforce Development called RIS, or Road to Economic Self-Sufficiency. The fact of the matter is, even though digital literacy is very important, that we have people who need jobs now. So training them is good, but they need to get a job now, get paid next week, so they can survive. And that's what we do. We help people apply. We are the ones going on the computer, applying for them online, following up, interpreting for them, get in touch with the employers, and once they land their jobs, then they can continue to go to their ESL class, learn about computers and all those things. So for the Office of Workforce Development has been supporting us since 2006 to continue to do that. So we're very grateful, and now we are going to add this component to our ESL class and train the students, how to, the basics. It's very important, I guess. Employers would be nice if they are familiar with different community-based organizations. Right. I don't think any of you know about the Somali Development Center, even though we've been around for 30 years. An African social service agency. So if you reach out, because the need is still there for work to be done that does not require computers and everything, at least at the beginning. Now, I remember years ago when I came to this country from East Africa, that the place I worked, and it was the Harvard Club of Boston, common with that. And I was a college student. All the housekeeping staff were white, European, Irish, and Italian people. All of them. Nowadays, all the housekeeping staff in different hotels and different places are African, South American, and other immigrants or people of color. So immigrants have always been the ones who are doing the work, at the service industry at the beginning. This is tradition in the United States. So that is still going on, even though we have some problems. So I would suggest that the employers, and we have to figure out a way to connect with really community-based organizations on the ground that every day are, getting people into jobs. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your question, and I think it's a very layered question which we might not be able to tackle in the 2 minutes we have. But one of the things that I think you mentioned is critical, and Corinne, you had brought it up before, is that we're sort of in the Band-Aid phase of making sure that workers are able, our learners, workers, are able to apply for jobs that are mostly, you need access to a screen, comfort with technology to apply for a job online. And I think organizations like yours are providing that bridge so that they get a job today. What we're building here is a system for tomorrow where they're building those skills as they're learning. So eventually, those services, if we solve for access to, I think somebody mentioned that, I think you were mentioning when people come in, like your new learners, 40% of them don't have access to technology at home. So they're reliant on the programs. I think we're sort of in that stage of really meeting the demand of not just the employers, but of the learners, workers themselves, so that they can thrive in our sort of tech-enabled society beyond the jobs. And I don't know if anybody else wants to add something in 30 seconds. So to wrap, as we wrap this up, just if folks want to say something for super quick, 30 seconds or so, as to what is keeping you energized in your work as you leave this space and tackle the email inbox that's waiting you outside. Just want to start with you, Zach, and just move forward, and if we can be expedient about this. Sure.
Truly being part of this group, working with the integrity, it's really opened my eyes as to what's out there to help our communities. And I am just really, I'm thinking about, connecting with my workforce development team at Dana-Farber and seeing how we can grow that department. And I'm just really impressed with what I've learned through working on this panel. So thank you.
Great. Thanks.
It's the applicants, it's the people. It's especially as I'm, ending our patient healthcare fellows and looking at summer programming, the people that I meet along the way just absolutely keep me motivated and humbled and committed to doing what we're all doing here.
Agreed. And what really keeps me going is the growth and the evolution of our trainees from week one, day one to the last day of day 10. It truly is amazing. And that's what excites me.
For us, it's the graduation season is coming up in 2 months. So watching the students walk across the stage. And for me, as the Dean of Academics, I get to shake every single student's hand and hand them their diploma. That's what excites me every day.
Just one last thought. After hearing you speak, I think one, if not the number one thing, is relationships with the people who do placements for whatever, college, high school. I went to Mass Maritime Academy way back, and there was a guy there named Captain Al, and if you needed a job, Captain Al had someone's phone number or someone was calling Captain Al. So the human piece of this is relationships, making contacts, so people actually call you, hey, I need some help, who do you got? How do they fit? That's the human piece. So relationships and partnerships.
Yeah, I'll echo that too. What energizes me is employer partners like Mark who are really engaged and invested in this work and understand what the power of that partnership is. I'm also energized by initiatives like this through the City of Boston that recognize the need for substantial funding to actually move these things forward. And similarly, we have a group of students that are graduating soon as well, and I think that their hunger and passion for contributing their skills across the board, but especially their digital literacy skills to important industries is really exciting. So thanks.
So you'll hear it again from me. It is also about the relationships. I was a college dropout at 19 and went back at 30 and had a lot of people that really invested their time and their energy into me. So now I get to pay it forward and invest it into others. And you build relationships. I've been in people management for 20 years. You don't stay in people management for 20 years unless you like people. And you have to build those relationships. And when you do, you get to see people thrive. You get to see them prove their worth, and they're so hungry to come in and prove their worth. And they're appreciative of the opportunity that they have. And it builds lifelong relationships. So that's every day what gets me out of bed and gets me going.
Thank you so much for that. And I think you've probably covered all of my takeaways that I had. So with that, I thank you so much for your participation, your engagement. And I'll hand it to you, Sarah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much to all our panelists. That was a fantastic discussion. I'll just give you another round of applause. Thank you. Great. So good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Sarui. I'm the Director of Research, Evaluation, and Analytics with the Worker Empowerment Cabinet. I also lead the Learning Lab, which you probably heard a little bit about today. And today's event is one of many events that the Learning Lab hosts and that we'll be hosting throughout the year. And the lab, if you're not familiar, is an initiative of the Worker Empowerment Cabinet that we launched last year to support evidence-based and community-driven workforce policy and practice here in Boston. Through the lab, we bring stakeholders together, we generate research, we share data to really help strengthen our workforce development here in system here in Boston. And our goal is really to ensure that Boston's workforce development system stays aligned. I'm going to use a term that Rob mentioned, stays agile and is ready to adapt to change. I just want to shout out a couple of resources. We recently launched a new website. You can find labor market research there, resources on Boston's workforce development system, labor market data to help you track trends. It's very useful if you're putting together grant applications applications for training providers, so please do check that out. We'll also be sending out a feedback form. We really encourage you to fill it out because it will help us ensure that future events like this are truly community-driven and are responding to the needs of the system. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our gracious host, David Shapiro, and the wonderful team here at the YMCA who've made this event possible. Thank you, David.
So 2 last rounds of applause. 1, Priyanka, a panel of 7 is a daunting task. One that I quickly shirked and said, let me do the welcome. And then 2, to everyone, set up, clean up, recording, everyone who recorded this for posterity, the food in the back, which I have a Jewish mother, so you need to eat when we're done this. But to everyone who's just taking great care of us today and making this a space for us. And I was going to wrap it up with gems, but to Sarah and Priyanka's point, there were so many. I think the one thing I do think a lot about is the fact that we're at an event centering on digital literacy and how much we talked about the human component. Who you know is a big part, even listening to the work of SDC, the Somali Development Center, and just who you know, who you're calling, who you're making sure, hey, I got this person in this job, you can do something you've never done. Because I think the problem with the workplace a lot of times is that we're risk averse, and we're risk averse around taking chances on humans. But when humans vouch for humans and we know they're supported, all of a sudden that flips the script. And that's the social capital that sometimes breeds even more inequity, but we can take anything that breeds inequity and make it something that breeds equity. So coupling that social capital with hard skills and social skills is all before us, and you heard it play out. These guys are the magicians that give us those examples. But it's an absolute honor and a privilege for the Y to play host today and to be in this work with all of you and to be part of trying to flip the script and just, as I say at the graduations, right, Rob, when they let me speak, to be just a small part of people's journey in this country, in this city, in their family's life, and making their way and being able to express their talent and perspective, which makes us all better. So I talked about Kendrick Lamar. I'll close with the boss, which is, Springsteen would say after his 3rd encore, these are the real fans that are still here. So we appreciate you still being here. And we thank you for being in this work, more importantly, and who you are in this work. Thank you very much. Have a good day.